Uh, did we ever get the other personnel? Okay, well, we're going to do some hiring, but we didn't get those two names, so that we'll skip that part. When we do call on somebody, your comments should be brief. Your comments should be respectful. Kagan has told you when you're ready to, if you want to speak, if you will simply raise your hand, then we will recognize you to give a brief statement. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swap seats for just a minute, and I'm gonna let our police chief speak basically about what happened. But what is in the past, we cannot change. We cannot change anything that's happened. We can only move forward from here and make sure that we do everything safely, okay? So that being said, I am going to switch seats just a minute, and I'm going to let Chief Jason speak to y'all and tell you basically what occurred, why it occurred, how it occurred. Okay, so we'll switch seats just a moment.
Back a week ago Saturday, a group of individuals were holding foot races up on the Davidson Street area in Charlie Harris. The police department received one complaint about cars blocking the road and loud noise in that area. Myself and another officer actually went to that area and observed there was a crowd. They were having foot races down the street. The roads were blocked around. Myself and the other officer took the time to ask the people to clear the roadway, make it where traffic could flow. All the people in attendance complied. They moved their cars, kept the roadway open so we could get traffic through if needed. While I was speaking to a couple of people there, I suggested we find a new, or they find a new location to try to have, if they're going to have foot races, try to find a new location that's safer, better than on Davidson Street and on a public road. I mentioned one possibility was the Crawford Sports Complex because it is open for running or walking on the track. I asked that, they get with me and we'll come up with, try to work out a plan. Well, the plan, they decided, that I guess there was a miscommunication there of going there or whatever, but they advertised that they would have foot races down at Crawford. Then I had got, advised, told the mayor I would be at Crawford to try to monitor what was going on, what was happening. As the crowd gathered, I realized it was going to be larger than anyone expected. So I moved into just trying to control the crowd, make sure everybody was safe, everything was good. Later on, the crowd got even larger. I was asked by the mayor to shut it down due to the size of the crowd. And I started informing the people they had to leave the Crawford, the sports complex, and they started leaving. Myself and another officer actually blocked Main Street so we could get them safely out of the park. Well, as they're leaving the park, I get another call that says they have moved over to the Charlie Harris area. So once we get the crowd clear from the park, we moved to Charlie Harris and started asking them, that go home. We're not able to block the road and have the races there because the crowd's just larger than anybody thought it would, and it's violating the governor's order of 100 people. And it took a little longer than I would have liked to get everybody cleared out of the area, but due to that number of people, we did not want to push them into the town all at once just because the size of those streets can't handle it. It wouldn't have been safe. So we continually asked people to leave, and they were steadily leaving the area and going back to their wherever. That's pretty much a short and sweet Cliff Notes version.
Okay, that is a synopsis of what happened this past weekend. The concern, of course, was the crowd was much larger than Chief ever thought it would be. He thought it would be local people, and it ended up being people from several different places, plus even a lot of counties way away from here. And I think that was due to some Facebook posts, and the crowd just got out of hand, too large. But fortunately, the people did behave themselves. I'll say there was no injuries. While I wasn't in favor of that larger crowd, of course, violating the governor's orders, and then some of the things that were being said, why they were racing, which I have no proof of, but that's where we were. Again, I want to focus on the future. We're all in agreement that we can't have this large crowds right now. We just put a mask order in place and asking people to wear a mask, and the governor has told us not to have crowds of more than 100. So until this pandemic has passed, we will have to follow the governor's orders. We don't want to go backwards and have businesses shut back down in our town, our county, because of what we're allowing to go on in our town. Okay, that's my spiel. Someone else like to speak?
Do we want to start with the board and then?
Yes. Any of the board members that would like to speak? Or
I'm glad that nobody was hurt. If we weren't in a pandemic, I think it's kind of great to have an activity that costs nothing and everybody can have a good time. I'm thankful that it went as smoothly as it could. There are a lot of things that were wrong with this. A lot of folks that lived in that neighborhood did not appreciate that activity. That's the only place that I've heard anyone really upset about this, are folks that lived in the neighborhood and weren't consulted. There was no permitting process. So we just need to do better. And right now, during this pandemic, I don't think we can do anything like this. But I think all things considered, I know some people are really upset, but all things considered, it's not the worst turnout for a gathering of that magnitude at that time of night. That's my opinion.
okay. Anyone else from the board? Okay, anyone from the public on Zoom?
So you can either message me or there's so many people there, I can't see everybody's faces.
Yeah.
So if you physically raise your hand, I'm not sure I'm going to see you. Nobody's messaged me yet.
Okay. All right, I'm going to turn and ask anyone in the boardroom if they would like to make a statement. Step up so they can hear you.
I just like to know that if the police is there, and if they see a situation where there's more than even 100 people, which I thought the guidelines were 50 people outside, but that's 50, not 100.
It's 100 right now for our count right now.
Well, he changed it yesterday because what he put out yesterday was 50.
Interior crowds is 50, outside is 100, unless you're in one of the now 23 counties. Yeah, oh yeah.
And if the police is there and they see more than 100 people there in Capitol, then they should have dispersed the crowd.
I think the problem, excuse me, I think the problem, I don't want to speak for Jason, but when you got two officers and that big a crowd came that quickly, I think the safe thing, they did the safe thing so no one could, they policed the area and then started asking the people to leave.
So it's safe. So you saying they did the safe thing,
And-
allowed them to continue racing, and the crowd still together, and they're still congregating. Most of them don't have masks on, and that's the safe thing. In the middle of a pandemic, that was the same thing.
No, I'm not talking about the pandemic. That's not safe. I agree 100% with that. That crowd was not safe. I'm talking about none of the people got physically hurt during that time.
What's up? As far as it being physical, I'm sure that will show in another 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, the pandemic, yes, you're right there. I'm talking about any violence, okay?
They weren't there for violence. The people weren't there to cause violence. They were there to race. And what I'm saying is, if the police has a responsibility, if the people are not adhering to the guidelines that have already been mandated by the state of Mississippi, police has a responsibility if he sees that crowd to disperse that crowd. If he needs help, he has resources to get help. He could have got on the radio. He could have called for somebody if he felt like he needed it. There was no reason, again, from my understanding, over this past weekend, I don't think it was over until almost 12 o'clock. So they raced a while, and they shouldn't have.
Now, I agree that things weren't done 100% maybe the way, especially I would like them or you would like them done. I think they used the very best judgment they could possibly use at that point in time.
Well, it's 2 weeks in a row.
And that's why we're kind of here to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Well, I mean, it's happened 2 weeks already.
Yeah.
So none of us knows just how severe this thing is going to be at this point.
We don't.
But it shouldn't have happened the first time. And I'm upset because, you know, I called to you.
Yeah.
I don't mind people knowing. I talked to you about it after the first event, so they will be prevented from happening the second time.
Now, you talked to me about the Baker Street thing, and we worked on that.
When I talked to you about what happened to the foot race in the first week.
No, sir, Levert, you did not.
Sir, when I talked to you,
Okay.
I asked you to close Baker Street. I asked you that, and I also told you that they were planning the same event at Crawford Field, and you said that would not happen. I'll take care of it.
No, I was talking about Baker Street. We made a miscommunication because, you know, we went up that day, took the rims down to try to prevent the crowd. And then I wanted to shut Baker Street down because of the kids. You worked on that so hard to get abused by some people. But if we totally shut it down, you know, then what?
If we don't shut it down, you're probably going to save some people's lives.
Right.
Those kids are going home. Same thing with the foot racers.
Right.
Half of them don't live by themselves. They don't have apartments.
I think
They're going home.
and it would be up to the board, but if we shut one park down, we have to shut them all down.
Why not? You got a pandemic going on. You got in Young Worcester County, you already got over 200 cases. So what if you shut it down?
Well,
You got to shut the city down at some
Okay.
point. If it keeps going the way it's going, you're
All
going
right.
to shut more than a park down.
Okay. All right. I appreciate your opinion. And
So right now, this is happening and happening in the black neighborhood. And I feel like the chief allowed it to happen in the black neighborhood with the black kids. If they congregate like that, make them go home. That's your job. You know? So I mean, it didn't affect nobody else in town. If it turns out to be a mass infection, it's gonna happen in the African American neighborhood. So y'all need to take the same seriousness that you take in your own neighborhood that you're taking out.
We do. Okay. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay. It's hard to talk through this thing.
I thought I saw a raised hand, but I was wrong.
Is it hard?
Yes, sir. Question for the mayor. I know that there was a lot of mistakes made in this last couple of weeks. And moving forward, I just want to know what your opinion is as to how we're going How we're going to move forward with this, Mayor?
I've already, excuse me, I thought you were through. Of course, Jason, I've already spoken. He'll be communicating with some of these young guys that were putting these together, letting them know that this cannot happen. All right, I spoke with one young man today. He was absolutely very polite. And he was one of the organizers, I think. And I told him where we stood, that it wasn't just Water Valley. It's what the governor has said, and we have to adhere to those. So we are not going to allow another event like this to happen as long as we have this pandemic. Even past the pandemic, we will not allow this to happen in neighborhoods. We do have places for it, events. Those events would have to be requested and approved. And that's the way I see us handling this in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Do we need to, so we now have 4 counties around us that by governor order, they are now restricted to 20 people in outdoor gatherings. Is that something?
Let me pose that question to Daniel as whether or not we can make that proposal tonight in a special meeting with, because of the call of the meeting, of course. But I will pose that question to Daniel.
Well, I think they're directly related, but I'd be extremely hesitant. I mean, the special meeting is supposed to be directly related to what we're talking about, and it's limited to gatherings in the city park. But because of what happened, I don't necessarily see that wouldn't be directly correlated to the special notice, which was the matters that happened this past weekend. But I mean, it is what it,
Know how to word it.
Right. So, yes. I think it needs to be narrowly defined, but yes.
Okay, Daniel says if it was narrowly defined, we could, put other restrictions, limits on numbers.
So if I can keep talking for a moment.
Okay.
So not just, but a couple months ago, we were getting so much grief for closing the walking track. And it is going to be very difficult if people expect the city to control all people's behavior so that nothing dangerous happens during a pandemic. We really need to rely on each other to be considerate for each other's health and just as neighbors in people's neighborhoods. And I don't know, we can try to craft more policy to lock things down, but we're just going to be chasing our own tails if people just aren't behaving in a way that takes into consideration their neighbors. And I don't know how we get there with rules and not just some common sense.
Yeah, sometimes the more rules you put in place, the more kickback you get. But I know we have to have rules and order in this. But I know the walking track is used every morning, especially, and it's a lot of people that walk down there every morning, and some brave it in the afternoons. And I'll say that one of the first phone calls I got Saturday night was a couple that was going to walk and could not for the crowd, and so that's what really keyed me into how large the crowd had grown at that point in time. Okay, all right, so it's your time to air it out. If you have a comment, let's have it now.
This is our largest virtual board meeting we've ever had.
I know, and so
Is Mariah Daniels raising her hand, or is she just looking down?
I think she's looking back. I do have someone in the back that wants to speak.
I'll ask.
I'm one of the ones that called you. Me and my wife were walking around the track. My problem is, this is my problem. Why was it diverted to that community? That's the problem I got with it, because we all know black people, they're dying faster than anybody for this thing. And he diverted it over there. And apparently they've been putting on Facebook, he approved it.
Yeah.
Why you didn't take it to the country club? Or why you didn't take it over here to the Central Street Park? That's my.
I did not approve the moving to Charlie Harris.
Well, I got folks that say you approved it.
I understand.
They backing you up on this.
I asked them to leave Crawford.
And a lot of making this out to be black and white thing. This ain't a black and
No,
white
it's
thing.
not.
This
It's
is a health
not.
thing.
It is a health.
And I'm gonna tell you, I got family with health issues. And
Me too.
And I'm telling you, man, that's a bunch of crap for him to send them over there.
Well, let's be patient. You know, just
And
talk.
when,
All right,
when
okay.
I talked to you on the phone, first time you didn't know we were on the phone. You were talking and you said I believe they're gambling over there. And you hung the phone. Yes, you did.
No, I was on the phone and you beat me.
Mr. Mayor, let me finish what I got to
Okay.
say. When I called you the first time, you didn't know I was on the phone and you were talking to somebody in the background. And I called you back.
And
that's when you said, well, I'm gonna get on the phone with the chief.
I had just got another call that they were leaving Crawford, going over there, and I called the chief and said, when you get them out of Crawford, go to Charlie Harris because they're gathering over there. So that's what you heard me telling him that, hey, we need to get over there now as soon as Crawford is cleared because they have moved. They didn't leave, they moved. Did that know what I said?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I got,
Daniel has
maybe y'all could, the organizers of these foot races, where do they live?
I don't know. Apparently they're supposed to be here.
Charlie Harris.
So
Do they live over there?
I don't know.
Several of them do. Yes.
I don't know what it was, but we got to understand there's a pandemic going on. There's people dying, no hospital beds in Mississippi, and then you divert them to the Black Community Project over to Baker Street.
Well, did he divert them or tell them just to go home?
I understand.
When we understand in the
He
post that he diverted them over there.
The post on Facebook?
No.
Well,
I got some on Facebook
That's not
saying
the
yeah.
record of those people, and the understanding is that, when they told them they had to leave there because people were calling and complaining about, so many people down at the complex,
Yes.
and he said, y'all can go back over there to Charlie Harris and have it.
We can't tell them not to go home, right?
Well,
I'm not upset because they having fun. Understand this. If we went in a pandemic, I would have been at the foot race.
and
I might would have raced somebody. But I'm saying this right here. When you send them over that community, that says to me, I don't care what goes on over there. And you know what's going on.
I don't think that he sent them to that community. I think he just sent them home. Is the
well,
problem.
all right.
Why do you go over there? Why do you go over there and direct traffic for it? He sent them home.
Even if he sent them home, he went over there and he stayed over there with them.
Had to community police, and he sent them all home.
Wow.
The people that didn't live there, he sent home.
it took a long time to clear
No,
600
no,
people in cars that
They
got.
had people everywhere that was here. There's people all over the county.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it took him so long.
There's 300 people out there.
I agree.
That's why we're trying to get.
You don't have that 300 people that live in the Charlie Harris.
Right.
All right. So, and if he sent them from there and say he was sending them home and they went to Charlie Harris, then when he got to Charlie Harris and they were there, he should have made them leave there also. Not direct to traffic, not make sure
He's
that they,
paid to protect and serve.
not,
Get
yeah.
Steve Story on the phone. Get these guys on the phone and get them out there and
That's
get
right,
them away
that's
from there.
Well, there's a,
You should have said I was moving them out when I'm sending him
Okay.
direct to traffic for him. Now, I mean, come on.
I understand, but I think there's, they say, but we don't know all the real facts. Chief said right here and said he did not send them over there.
Even
When
if
I
he
told
didn't
him that I got a call that they were going there, they did go. At that point in time, I think you only had one other officer.
Yes, sir. We requested an off-duty officer to come in and called for the county to come assist us.
And what happened?
here's what I'm saying, is that I completely agree that we should not let this happen in the future. But what what we're trying to do is prevent it from ever happening again. So on that front, we completely agree. What I'm trying to suggest that the police chief was put in a very hard situation where, like y'all said, you've got young men just out having good fun. Apparently there was children there, family fun. And so, you don't want to bust it up and start threatening and hollering and fussing and maybe even threatening to arrest people. You don't want to do that at a
When you called and busted it up when they were down there Crawford Field down there, you called and you busted it up. So how come you couldn't bust it up over at Baker Street? They got busted up at Crawford Field. If you didn't want to bust up their bug, why did you let them stay down at Crawford Field?
And I'm gonna say this, I'm the one that put the comment that everybody was talking about on Facebook. I did it. Yep, I did it. And I'm not ashamed, and I'll do it again.
I don't do
I
Facebook.
just want to share that everybody, because everybody, they go behind people's backs and say, you know, text each other. He does something. I did it.
What was it?
I don't do Facebook.
Well, tell them to show it to you. They'll show it to you.
I don't do
I'm pretty sure
Facebook.
some of them in the room say it.
I don't do Facebook,
Oh,
but
come on.
I don't have Facebook.
You know, my problem is that, you know, these excuses are not, they just don't hold up for me, because this is not a one-time event. That something happened and it got out of hand, and we're here today to say, well, let's do what happened again. This is something that's already happened again.
Right,
This
and we can't change history of our, and I get that. But I don't want y'all to think that we think that one person in this town's life is more important than another person's life. It is not to me. To you people that, and to us as a board and a community. The people that know me, I think, know my heart.
know your heart. You said know your heart.
Right. And the last thing I would want to do is lose one more life in this town, county, state, or nation due to this pandemic. The last thing I would want to do.
Well, you can pretty much bet it's gonna happen. You got 500 people over there together. Somebody's gonna come down with it the next couple of weeks. Because it should have been dispersed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I called raising saying about Baker Street because of the crowds that were coming over to Baker Street. Let me share this with you. Here in Baker Street, big crowd over there. Kids over there, they're playing basketball, which is a hazard in the first place. But when I come down the street, they're shooting dice on the table and they're smoking marijuana. I come down the street and I found one of the officers was standing in front of the post office. And I asked him, officer, if you don't mind, drive through Baker Street. They're over there shooting dice on the tables and they're smoking marijuana in the park. He said, I will. I got you. I go down the street and make a loop. There comes the officer behind me. Really? Come on.
Okay. I think y'all heard the conversation we've had here. Again, is there anything further? Is anybody raising their hand? I can't. Or asking to speak?
I've been wrong twice, but nobody's messaged. Nobody's.
Okay. Okay. We will be with, trying to locate some of these guys that are planning this. The chief will be talking with them, making sure this doesn't happen. And let's just pray that none of these young men, women that were there get this, could be deadly disease, or pass it on to someone in our community or elsewhere that maybe has health problems and things like that.
Do we, I'm sorry, Mayor, do we
Go ahead.
want to set any policy? Do we want to just tighten everything down? I'm not sure.
Well, I think we have policy that events, any special event has to be approved. And that was just lack of communication that had happened. And we need to have better communication. Now I say we, me. But again, if I could turn the time of the clock back, I would. I can't do that. But
Nicole is raising her hand.
Nicole?
I thought you were off mute, Nicole.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now, yeah.
Okay. I was muted and I was trying to get your attention because I was trying to talk, but I was muted. Okay, let me go back. I'm sitting here listening to all this. This is my community. This is my neighborhood. This is my family where I live. And let me just say, you already know I've talked to you a lot in the past week. And before then, I am not happy. I'm not happy at all. And I have a lot more that I'm gonna say, but I'm not gonna say it on this Zoom. But my question is this. from what you said earlier. You said that we're going to move forward from this, and the organizers and other community members are going to be notified that this can't happen again and so forth. My question is this: when the precedent has been set that the Water Valley Police and the police chief are cool, and people think they can come to Water Valley and hang out, how are we going to turn that around? How is that going to be, okay, these events have happened. Yes, that's in the past. But moving forward, okay, now you're breaking the law, or we have to enforce this or enforce that. How is that going to be turned around? That's what I want to know.
Well, we're hoping that cooler heads do prevail when we tell them this is not just our ordinances or anything. This is the governor's orders. And, you know.
But we knew the governor's order weeks ago, but this still occurred.
Yes, it did.
So I'm speaking moving forward. How is the police department and the chief of the city of Water Valley going to approach the streets, protect and serve on the streets now, and actually enforce the law? No, we can't let this happen, and so forth. How is that going to happen when the precedent is the Water Valley Police is cool?
Again, by speaking with and you know, foreknowledge, if we know some event is being planned here, whether it's been approved or not, you know, getting to that and stopping it and telling them that there will be consequences there. You know, if you break these laws, these ordinances, unfortunately, there could be consequences such as arrest, and we hate to do that. But if they break the law, that's what we would have to do. Thought I heard somebody.
So up to now, it's been my understanding that our board, our direction to the police department and the chief has been enforce the laws of our community and our nation, but take a gentle hand when it's warranted. So we are a small town. We know each other, we live with each other, and if a warning is something that can be done, I believe we've been encouraging our police force to try that tactic before taking a hard hand. That may be something that we need to specifically direct our police department, that during a pandemic, that is not the approach for health issues. And if that's the case, we may need to take an official step to make that our direction to our police department, that we stop being friendly when you're putting other people's lives at risk. But I think we need to choose to make that an order, because it's not been the direction that we've given our police force before.
I think you're right. And like I said, speaking with Jason, and we have several officers here, you know, I don't want this community to think that we are profiling anyone at all. This is not about race, as Levert and others have spoken here. It's not about race at all. And I don't want us to have some of the problems that other places have had about race, because we're Water Valley. We're all one, and I don't care what color you are. And so, but if we do see someone breaking the law, they're going to have to pay the consequences, and that will be the order to the chief from this point on, and to the officers. And so we will not have this problem.
Herbie, were you?
Yes, I know that the ultimate permits and stuff is given out by the chief, and we, you know, that's kind of that's part of his responsibilities. But during this pandemic, such gatherings and stuff, it might be wise that that's brought to the board. that we have to help him. It's not saying we're taking away his authority, but to help him through these difficult times of the pandemic. I'm not trying to take anything away from Jason, but I'm just trying to offer the board's help.
Just defer things to us when he gets a request. I think
That's
that would
right.
be, I think that would be wise. And that doesn't have to be any type of ordinance or order or anything. Just, I can direct that, of course.
That was, I can't believe it was last week. We had that conversation last week that we all signed up to be the people that say no and everybody gets irritated with.
That's right.
Hopes Police Department, we're just going to say no. And he's just enforcing what we've asked him to for public health.
Absolutely. But again, I think the big thing we do need to absolutely, and I don't say this flippantly, people, but we need to absolutely pray for that none of these individuals had it, get it, and spread it. Because it is serious, especially to a lot of people that have underlying health conditions. And we're seeing that more and more. And so, again, I can't turn the clock back, but we are going to enforce the law and the governor's orders to the letter. And as stated, I think he put 10 more counties under restrictions today. And if we'll all do the right things, hopefully it won't be our county and our city that face some of these things. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
There's some commentary, but it's not a question in the chat.
Okay.
There was something that, just as a public service notice, I've had conversations with a few people in town, and I'm not a fan of social media. I'm not a fan of how people behave on social media, but just so everyone knows, anybody who says anything threatening in a comment message, anything online, it can be a text message, it can be a Facebook comment. If you threaten someone, that is a federal crime and the FBI takes over.
Yes,
So
that is correct.
Could you please be nice to each other, even if you disagree?
That is right.
Sorry, soapbox, but.
Yeah, well, sometimes it needs to be said. Okay.
So I had several questions that the chief addressed at the beginning. That's why I'm not doing a lot of talking, because he answered several questions that I had. But I would like to reiterate the same thing that I've been asking for 3 years, is to communicate. We need communication, and we don't know what's happening in our city. We can't give the best information about what is happening to the city to our constituents. So if I don't hear from the mayor, I don't know what's happening. If the mayor is not informed of what's happening by department heads, then we can't answer questions. So it's been really tough for me to get to the bottom of the answers to any questions. And as a matter of fact, I had a call in to the police chief on Saturday, and he's still not returned my phone call. So I really think that we need to work harder on communication, because we are the community leaders and we are the people who are supposed to know what's going on, instead of me finding out on Facebook posts. That's not the way I feel like our communication system should work here in the city of Water Valley.
Yeah, I think a lot of this entire thing was caused by lack of communication. And talking with our chief, he did not realize that this was going to be from everywhere. You know, yeah, this again, like you said, Facebook, and a lot of people still don't believe I don't have Facebook, but I do not. But it really blew up there, and the invitation went out wherever Facebook goes out, I think so. And that's one of the reasons the crowd got so large.
Donald, I have a question that I'm not 100% sure of the answer. The question is, any citizen of Water Valley to have any sort of event at the Crawford Sports Complex, you need to obtain permission to do that?
Yes.
Yes. Policy?
When we had a park director, he would usually contact me, if it was a thing that had been, I'll use Borg Warner, for example. They have what they call the Borg Warner family picnic once a year, or they did to the pandemic. And that's been a standing agreement, but the park director would always let me know, this is the weekend of the Borg Warner family picnic, things like that. And we would okay it, through the chief and everything, who was chief at that point in time. And so any events, when people want to have something on the bandstand or the gazebo, they usually contact City Hall and we get that approved if it's, a small thing. And we've had everything from church services to pep rallies, so, but all that needs to be approved. And right now, especially, even though it's 100, we don't even need that many people congregating. We really don't, because it's hard to do safely, even if you're outdoors. The thing they said that heat might kill this. Well, it don't get much hotter than it's been these last few days, so I don't think it's killed any of the virus so far. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the comments, everybody, and I know people are upset.
Mr. Mayor, I make one final comment.
Yeah, Jason wants to make one final comment.
It was spoke on earlier that the community that had this wouldn't respond and would end up having it again. It's kind of the way I took the comment that was made. I won't call them. There's a couple of people in this room that are very influential in the community at hand and in question for this event. And I firmly believe if I reach out to them and ask them not to have a gathering that large in this town, I firmly believe we have developed a relationship over the past almost year that they will not hold another event while we're under this pandemic. And I believe they understand if they do, the department will have to take action and they'll just have to deal with the consequences of that action. I firmly believe that.
Okay. And that's the big thing. Us, I'll say older adults, because I can put myself in that category. We need to be mentors for some of these young men and show them how to be responsible and do things the responsible way. And just trust them to do the right thing, then pay the consequences. Is there anything else? Last call. Again, thank y'all. I asked everyone to reach out to some of these young people and let's help them be more responsible citizens, because hey, this is our town. This is our town. And we've got to make sure that we don't get the reputation of being, hey, that's the place to go party, because it's not. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to
Wouldn't have
adjourn.
been a problem. This wouldn't have been a problem had we not been in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
I think that's what I want people to take away from this meeting, is that we're trying to protect the public from a virus and trying to follow all the state and federal regulations that have been imposed upon us. Otherwise, it would have just been a fun thing to do. But we are in a pandemic, and I really want everybody to take that away, to know that we need to continue to protect ourselves and others while people are getting sick around us. Thank you.
Well said. Okay. At this point in time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
All right, Herbie, may I have a second? And Cinnamon, all in favor? That's unanimous. Again, thank y'all. Kagan, thank you for setting Zoom up again. And We'll move forward. Thank you.